is WTVA News at 5.
Right now at 5, federal authorities begin to gather information about yesterday's crash of a UPS plane in Birmingham. We'll get the latest on the investigation.
Also today in Egypt, the situation is much more calm today after a deadly round of violence killed hundreds of protesters yesterday in Cairo. We will have that story as well. But first today,
we start with a developing story that could be a heavy blow to local drug enforcement.
That is correct. Northeast Mississippi law enforcement agencies are now going to Plan B. As WTVA's Susan Parker reports, a major federal funding cut has law enforcement scrambling for a solution. She joins us now live with the latest.
Well, for Lee County Sheriff's Office deputies, duties go well beyond what they do here at the Lee County Sheriff's Office. They also work the streets in search of drugs. They are part of the North Mississippi Narcotics Unit, as are 6 other counties. All have suffered a setback. We can't show you their faces, but these men are on the front lines of the war on drugs in Northeast Mississippi. They are members of the North Mississippi Narcotics Unit. They are also employed at the Pontotoc County Sheriff's Office. Their roles could change soon, and Sheriff Leo Mask is worried.
It totally caught us off guard.
What caught he and other departments off guard is recent word they received of a major federal funding cut. For decades, the North Mississippi Narcotics Unit and other drug task forces have received funding through the Department of Justice's Edward J. Byrne grant. They and units like them in Mississippi received funding for a variety of purposes, including use as a salary reimbursement. Sheriff Mask says they will lose $30,000.
You lose one man, I mean, that's a lot of enforcement that you lose in a year's time and off the street.
That's an opinion shared by Lee County Sheriff Jim Johnson. He will have to reduce the number of deputies assigned to the North Mississippi Narcotics Unit from 4 to 3.
You know, anytime that those things are cut, then you've got to make that difference up somewhere. If the money or you cut the service. And anytime you do that, cutting the service is certainly not the answer.
So where is the grant money going instead? The money, which is dispersed through the Mississippi Department of Public Safety, will go to a number of other programs, including drug courts. DPS made their decision based on considerable study and input from focus groups. While it is believed the narcotics unit will receive at least some money, Lee County District Attorney Trent Kelly remains concerned about the future.
Drugs are the #1 cause of most of the crime that we have in our district, so it will cut back on our effectiveness as law enforcement. They'll have to work a little harder and a little longer.
Now the unit is going to lose in excess of $200,000, but they have a really good track record, so officials say even without that additional money, they intend to keep it. For now, we're live in Tupelo. Susan Parker, WTVA News.
All right, thanks a lot, Susan. And you can read about this story more online at WTVA.com. And as always, stay up to date with the latest news, weather, and sports with the WTVA app for smartphones and also tablets.
Meantime, a man from Amory is now behind bars facing drug charges. A joint investigation by the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, the Amory Police Department, and the North Mississippi Narcotics Unit led to yesterday's arrest of 36-year-old Andrew Lucas Rowland. Authorities say Rowland is charged with manufacturing marijuana. The Sheriff's Department says Rowland is right now out of the detention center on a $10,000 bond.
And in federal court today, a judge ordered a man to be held without bond pending trial. Michael Wayne Thornton is accused of using the internet and a cell phone to try to arrange to have sex with a minor. This incident happened back in January during an undercover sting operation by deputies with the Lee County Sheriff's Office. Thornton, however, has pleaded not guilty in this case.
All across North Mississippi, state highway patrol troopers have made good on a promise to crack down on moving violations in school zones. Troopers adopted a zero tolerance in all 9 counties served by the New Albany Highway Safety District. During a 3-day period, officers issued 146 citations, mostly for speeding. Troopers say they will continue their patrols throughout the remainder of the school year.
Happening right now in Starkville, the Mississippi State University softball team is taking some time away from the playing field.
The team is working on hitting a home run for one local family. WTVA's Tyler Hill is in Starkville tonight. He joins us live now with more on what's happening now. Tyler.
Habitat for Humanity just started putting the walls up on Monday, and the storage room in the back is almost complete. Now, this house is unique for Habitat for Humanity because it's called the Maroon Edition. The volunteers working on this house are made up of Mississippi State students, organizations, faculty, staff, and anyone else related to MSU. A fraternity on campus donated $20,000, and a local bank actually matched those funds. So nearly half of the money needed to construct this house came from just 2 organizations. Today, ladies from the softball team came out to lend a helping hand.
It's fun to do. It's fun to get out there and help somebody else. I mean, and just to do it as a team, it's just great, and it's just fun. I mean, and why not? When I can do it, why shouldn't I? You know, I mean, anytime you can help somebody else and make somebody's day, that's what we go for.
They expect this house to be completed in November. I'll have more on this story on WTVA News tonight at 10. For now, I'm live in Starkville. Tyler Hill for WTVA News. Back to you.
Thank you, Tyler. It's certainly been a beautiful day outside. As promised, we had very nice weather, almost fall-like weather, if you will, all across North Mississippi this afternoon.
All right, here's a look live. Well, I think we're going to take a look live outside from our Tupelo Tower cam. I guess not. So let's go over to our chief meteorologist, Matt Lapon, for a first look at the Weather Authority forecast.
How about this? Since we didn't get the Tupelo Tower cam, we'll show you one in a different location. We'll go down to West Point, and it doesn't matter which camera we choose to look at. They all show up the same with completely sunny skies, couple of clouds, but not a lot, and certainly none producing any moisture. Current temperature coming in 86. The dew point there a little higher than it is in Tupelo at 73. Those northerly winds making sure that we stay less sticky, at least for one more evening and overnight period. This morning, though, obviously cool to start. We had low temperatures in most spots down into the 60s and in some cases the upper 50s for morning lows. We've peaked up to the lower 80s at this hour. 82 right now in Tupelo. It's 75 up there for St. Louis as that cooler air still trying to force its way southward, but that progress slowed quite a bit. See this front down south? That is an initiation point for showers and thunderstorms that could begin to return. It's the same front that brought us the cooler weather, and you'll notice all the showers down that direction. Over the next couple days, the questions are how much does that nudge north, and what happens with this disturbance near the Yucatan Peninsula? Those are 2 things we'll be addressing in more detail in the extended forecast coming up in a couple of minutes. This evening, though, very pleasant, and temperatures dropping through lower 70s into the upper 60s by 11. Sonia?
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. And back to our news, we continue to follow the investigation into what caused yesterday's crash of a UPS cargo plane in Birmingham.
Today, the focus was on finding the flight recorders among all of the wreckage. Ashley Roberts reports on the very latest.
When the sun breaks, the rays shed light on what's left of the UPS cargo plane crash. One day after the accident, day 2 of the investigation, and time for NTSB to see what evidence can be recovered. In a one-on-one interview, NTSB board member Robert Sumwalt told me his agency is looking at the crash from all angles. A team will be in Birmingham for at least 5 to 7 days. The NTSB will also travel to Louisville, Kentucky, which is where the plane took off from before crashing, to collect flight and maintenance records.
One of the things we will do is determine the weight and the balancing of this airplane, so we will look to make sure that it was within its weight limitations and it was properly balanced.
Sumwalt says the last known communication with the pilots gave them clearance to approach and land in Birmingham, and that there was no distress call to his understanding.
There's actually 2 types of recordings. The all communications between pilots and controllers, all of that is recorded through the air traffic control facility. In addition to that, we have the cockpit voice recorder that will record everything that's said in the cockpit. So we should have 2 sources of information to be able to recreate what was said and what was done.
He says the NTSB will not only investigate what happened to cause the plane to crash, but why, to help prevent a similar tragedy.
Officials have also been collecting various debris that landed in neighboring yards.
On to some new information now on a story we told you about yesterday on WTVA News at 5. A second hostage who was shot in that standoff at a bank in a small Louisiana town has died. The man died early this morning. Yesterday we told you that a man took 3 bank employees hostage in St. Joseph, Louisiana, but released one of them during negotiations. He then shot 2 other hostages when police stormed the bank. The shooter was then shot by police.
Hundreds of firefighters have now joined the battle against a raging wildfire in Utah. More heavy equipment is being brought in to build containment lines. So far, the wildfire has destroyed 14 homes near the Utah mountain resort of Park City. Firefighters are trying to stop the fire from advancing on a local subdivision containing more than 250 homes.
In economic news, last month's back-to-school sales were not enough to boost the profits for the world's biggest retail chain. Walmart has announced it will lower its annual profit outlook. The Arkansas-based company says profits rose only 1.3%, far lower than earlier estimates. So overall, revenue dropped by 0.3%.
And a new species of mammal was introduced today at the Smithsonian's Museum of Natural History. It's being called a major discovery as pictures were shown of an animal called, and let's see if I can get this right, Olinguito. The animal lives in South America. It's considered the smallest member of the raccoon family. It eats fruit and weighs only about 2 pounds. It's the first new discovery in about 35 years.
Pretty interesting. Kind of cute.
Yeah, he was really cute.
All right, we still have much more news ahead on your News at 5. Coming up, the situation is more calm today than it was yesterday, but the tension's still tight in Egypt right now. Coming up next, we'll find out more about yesterday's deadly violence and get the latest. And then later, it's time for college kids to be moving into the dormitories. Pretty exciting. But what happens if you have a conflict with your new roommate? That's the focus of our Health Watch on WTVA News at 5.
And later, new at 6. It's the first day of the furniture market here in Tupelo. The buyers are in town and local companies hope to line up some pretty big sales. We'll take a closer look at that. Plus, we continue to get closer to the start of high school football. Tonight, we preview the Indians of Itawamba AHS. That's ahead on WTVA News at 6.